All right, this is Jeff Mayhew. I'm going to try to do this alone, so hopefully I don't rant and lose my spot too much. So we got we have our president and presidential nominees, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. We got the compromise candidate in Joe Biden, and we got the chaos candidate in Donald Trump. And we will be happy with them because they were chosen for us and we will like them. Like, if you're a regular American, just think about it for a second. Do you really like nobody wants these people, yet somehow they are still the nominees that we have? Like, there's been a lot of talk about tyranny in my day. Basically, my whole life, everybody's always talking like, but we've always been in tyranny. There's always a faction, a group somewhere that's like, this is tyranny. They want to tell you you can't do this thing. That's tyranny. And I think like when when a majority of the population is like, "Hey, we want different leaders," and then the leaders are like, "No, you don't." I don't know. I think that's getting close. That's getting close. Hopefully, I mean, I think we can still change it. I don't think it's like definite. I mean, but yeah, so we got Joe Biden, we got Donald Trump. I like to tell Joe Biden is the compromise candidate. He is Franklin Pierce. He's James Buchanan. He's not particularly politically skilled. He's got significant flaws, but he's just safe enough to get past the other guy. He keeps power on our side, and therefore the Republic is safe because we are the ones that know what's best for it. And then we got Donald Trump, the guy who said, like, first of all, Donald, let's be real here. Your logic doesn't square. You say you won the last election. How could you possibly be eligible to run in this election? You're not allowed to win 3 terms anymore. So, like, something's wrong. I mean, look, you can like Donald Trump, you cannot like Donald Trump. You cannot ignore the fact that this man gathered a large group of people to the Capitol, told them to go over there, got them all riled up and angry. And then when they started attacking it, he did nothing. Like he did absolutely nothing. Like as president, your job, the reason you have your power is to do something. Like James Madison was president when the British stormed and burnt down the White House. And you know what he did? He left and he ordered everybody else to leave. He was like, hey, let's get the heck out of here. He called the military. He called anybody he could. He was like, help, help, help. And Donald Trump was sitting in the White House, probably on Twitter, scrolling, looking for the people who agreed with him, going, nah. I mean, think about that for a second. Just if you're a regular American, you have a regular job, maybe you're a security guard, maybe you're a police officer, maybe you are one of those security guards. Now, I know like all of the whole thing is political now, and we meet the people and we don't like the people because they disagree with us and blah, blah, blah. Just pretend for a second it's your kid. Okay. Just pretend that like your kid just moved out of the house and they're a DC Capitol Police officer. And they're like, yeah. And then like you turn on the news and you're like a big Donald Trump fan. And you're like, whoa, whoa, my kid is now in the middle of that mess. Like, yo, Donald, I know. Can you just call it off? Can you just like, can you get up? Can you walk outside and can you like get back on that microphone and be like, hey, 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 can you stop? Can you stop attack? Dude sat there and did nothing while people were chanting, hang Mike Pence, the vice president of the United States. Like, I like that, Thomas Jefferson was vice president of the United States, and he completely undermined James Adams or John Adams. Oh my, how did I do that? James Madison, John Adams as president, but he never, ever wanted him to die or would sit on the sidelines. Like as much as Thomas Jefferson at points hated John Adams, if there was a mob chanting "kill," John Adams. I got this backwards, right? Because Thomas Jefferson is the vice president, instead of the president. I picked the wrong crew. Anyways, you get the point. There's a line. Like there's a line. So I read this recently. This is the Kennedy nuclear folly, and it's about the Cuban Missile Crisis. And Kennedy and the Americans discover missile silos on on Cuban soil through U-2 flights. And basically, the Russians are moving nukes there. And they're like, this is a problem. This really escalates the situation. Now they can reach the mainland. We've got to do something. They have many options. None of them are good. They're like, we could strike the island and take out the silos now before the nukes get there. But there kind of was nukes there, so that wouldn't have been a good strategy. They could, and what they ended up doing was a blockade, right? They blocked the nukes from coming in. They negotiated with Khrushchev secretly. They eventually pulled their nukes out of Turkey for the nukes getting out of Cuba. And there's this moment of tenseness where they're sending the blockade for the first time, trying to decide when to start it, when not. And Kennedy, RFK and JFK are kind of alone after the meetings, and RFK is talking to him, and I think this is in RFK's memoir, but I read it in this book, and it's also in that one as well. Um, and he's like, we had to do something. Like they don't know really if it's going to work yet. They made it through the first test. There was no immediate strike back the moment that they on their first response, and now they've this go ahead on the naval blockade, and they're like, look, we've got to do something. The American people need us to do something. We don't know what the Russians are going to do. Look at what's happening. They are moving nukes closer to our homeland. There's got to be a reason for that. The American people aren't going to be happy if we do nothing. If they're being aggressive towards us. And he said, if we did nothing, I think you would have been impeached. And Kennedy's response was, yeah, I think I would have been impeached. And when I read that, I was like, man, I thought about Donald Trump sitting in the White House on Twitter while hundreds and hundreds of people are breaking into the Capitol building. That's my building, bro. Like you got the White House, the Capitol building's my building. All right. I am the people. I know they are the people too, but they are not my people. My people do not break in. My people respect the law. American citizens respect the law, right? Is not your house. Like it's not your house to just walk through. There are elected people there. There were families. Mike Pence's family was there. And if you're going to tell me if those people got Mike Pence, they were hanging them. Okay. Mob mentality says that they were going to get there because they were allowed to get there. What stops a mob is some sort of opposing force of which they were completely outmatched. Like the Capitol Police were completely outmatched. The guy that was supposed to do something did nothing. And we get him as a presidential nominee again. And the guy that we get to go against him doesn't really care about what really happened that day, right? Like what happened was bad, right? We don't want people attacking the Capitol building. You shouldn't break and enter. You should not chant to hang the vice president of the United States. These are not good things. But how was Donald Trump able to get the power? Like, how did he win his first election? What was his big slogan? It was build the wall. It was immigration. And what did those people say when they stormed the Capitol that day? They said, we do not feel heard. You're not listening to us. So we're going to chant louder and louder and louder. And we're going to walk into your house and we're going to make sure you hear us because we don't feel represented. Now, I don't know what those people wanted. I don't know what they were doing there for, but I can relate on the fact that I don't feel represented either. And they're not represented. And there's a reason for that. And it's called apportionment. And it ties to immigration. And we have all of these people, the compromise candidate, the chaos candidate, and they're driving a wedge between us, all of us individuals. They're making us storm over here. They're making this group hate that group and this group hate that group. And meanwhile, the issue that this all stems from is apportionment. It's created an unrepresented nature in our government, and nobody's talking about it. And so they give us the compromise candidate and the chaos candidate. And they tell us that we can't do this, we can't pass that bill, and we can't stop the border, and we should build the wall, and we should all do this stuff. And what they should be talking about is writing a new apportionment bill and writing immigration law, like writing some rules, some basic rules to like figure out how people were coming into this country. Because let's tie it together. People feel unrepresented, and that's because in 1929, Congress capped the House at 435. And since then, the population has tripled from about 100 million to over 330 million. But the representation has remained the same. The ratio between representatives and citizens has grown significantly, 1 in 220,000 to 1 in almost 800,000, depending on where you live. We're unrepresented. There's too many of us and not enough of them. That's a problem. That's why there's a group of people that was willing to storm the Capitol. We've seen that before. We've seen that in Shays Rebellion, right? That Shays Rebellion was the people were not represented. And the result of Shays Rebellion is we moved from a confederation of states where each state had a say and the people did not, to a compounded republic with a bicameral Congress where the Congress was representative of the states and the people of the states. So 4 years go by and nothing has changed and nobody is talking about the things that they're supposed to talking about. They're talking about the same stuff that they always talk about. And we, the people, are completely left out. But I digress. Oh, wait, no, I don't digress. I need to make my point here. I started, see, I told you I would get on a rant and I would forget where I was, but I pull myself back. So let's go to the congressional record. Where does the immigration problem stem from? Well, what happened? When did immigrants come aboard, right? It was the late 1800s, early 1900s, industrial age. Corporations were going bigger. Job means labor, labor, labor. Concentration of power in urban cities created more representation for some states and urban areas than rural areas. That created a divide. You know how I know that? It's right here. The fight began over an amendment providing for taking the census of the aliens who were in the United States unlawfully. The main controversy arose over a motion to exclude aliens from the count in the reapportionment of representation in the House. It was contended by those opposing the motion that the word persons in the Constitution included aliens, and that Congress was powerless to exclude them from the count in making the reapportionment. But our contention was that since a constitution adopted by and for the people, excuse me, but our contention was that since it is a constitution adopted by and for the people of the United States, the word persons referred to American persons, and that Congress had the power to exclude aliens from the count in making its reapportionment. There was a group that said count them and a group that said not to count them. And we couldn't make up our mind. And we wrote a law that capped the representation at 435, and we decided to count all the people. And since then, we have become a very unbalanced republic. And immigration was the cause of it. It's still a problem. We fail to address this problem every single generation. And every single generation, it's used as a fundraising mechanism to get people to power. And so that's where we sit today. And here are our choices. And so what's going on in the world? What is, while they, excuse me, while they should be talking about this, they are not. What are they talking about? Well, guess what? They're talking about themselves. The chaos candidate and the compromise candidate, right? So the chaos candidate was in the news today because Mike Pence has said he is not supporting the chaos candidate. It is the Ides of March, and Mike Pence knifed Donald Trump in the back and said, "Hey, you were going to hang me, bro. I'm not supporting you this time." And Ben Shapiro, he's a different type of representative of power, right? Because a representative of power is somebody that has a voice. They can actually speak to representation. Regular citizens can't get in the room of representation. Ben Shapiro can, so he has more power than you and I. And so he's throwing a fundraiser for the guy. And you just like, you think, Why? Why do we have to be talking about it this way? Why can we not focus on like, hey, he was the chaos candidate. He is the chaos candidate. Can we, instead of Mike Pence coming out saying, I'm not supporting Donald Trump, I want Mike Pence to come out and say, I am working with a group to win, I don't know, 3 states, 3 electoral states with one candidate. Like, this is the perfect opportunity for third, fourth, fifth candidates to run. Like, you narrow down your states, you win 1 or 2 states, you explain to the people what's going on, you run on a policy of actual change, of like real government stuff, instead of talking about unattainable objectives like building this massive freaking wall and thinking that's going to keep everybody out. How about we just write some rules? That is what Congress's job. Like, how about a presidential candidate that's focus is holding Congress accountable? Instead of just doing their job for them, they go, nope, your job is to write an apportionment bill. Your job is to write immigration law. I'm not doing anything until you do this thing. Your job is to balance the budget. We're in debt. I'm not doing this anymore. Congress, do it and do it right. Get along. Go strip your parties. Like, get in a room together. Change the rules. Have a conversation. Like, come up with, be creative. And that's the problem. That's what we got. We got this guy or that guy because people are just not creative. They believe what they believe and they don't want to do anything else. And they're not talking about the right thing. Oh man. Why? Why are we stuck in this situation? Like, I mean, I'm not the only one that feels stuck, am I? Like, there's this small group, well, they're not, I guess they're not small, they're burgeoning, they're brand new. It's called the Reagan Caucus, right? So Mike Pence, he's out there saying he's not going to nominate Donald Trump, and Nikki Haley ran what I thought was a fantastic campaign, proving that people don't want Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And look at the polls, man. Go talk to regular people. People do not want these people. These are not the representatives they want. And there's this group out there. They're called the Reagan Caucus, and so their idea is build a group within a group. I love that. That's republicanism at a nutshell. That's what we did. We moved from the Confederation to the uh, the Constitution, and what do? We build groups inside of groups inside of groups, and it works. Power checks power, and we're able to fend off the uh, we're able to fend off the chaos candidates, and it doesn't allow for the need for compromise candidates when you're doing it right. The reason you need a compromise candidate is when power gets tilted in one way, like it did in the pre-Civil War and like it did now because of the Three-Fifths Compromise pre-Civil War and because of the Permanent Appropriation Act now. And we like, what are we to do as people? Like, are we supposed to just accept it? Like we just go and we vote for Donald Trump or we vote for Joe Biden? Do we really like there are red states and blue states. Like depending on where you live, you may think it doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter. Why would I even bother to vote? Why would I vote for those guys? And so I think what the Reagan caucus is trying to do is gather the people that feel like that and go, "Hey, give us another way." Like, be creative. Give the American public a choice. Like, my thing about, like, I'm a big fan of our government. And I know that that sounds weird to some people, but I love the just the attention to detail in it and the way that it checks power and how it can expand and contract and it can do so many different things depending on what the generation of people need it to do. And it can always go back. And we just we don't take advantage of that as much as we should. And this is a situation where you've got basically you've got a failed establishment. Okay. Nobody trusts these guys. Nobody wants them. This is prime opportunity for a charismatic third party to emerge. And if 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 your argument is you can't have a third party emerge because the rules, the way that they're written, make it difficult for ballot access. Okay. Well, that's what the Reagan caucus is like. Okay, we're going to work inside the rules. We're going to work inside of the party. We're going to try to change the party from inside. We're going to put a group inside of group, and that's how we're going to do it. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's what you should do. I think that's what we should have been doing all along. Instead of all these people exodusing the GOP, they should have just stayed and be like, bro, this is my home. You're not gonna just come. You guys weren't here. Donald Trump was a Democrat for most of his life. You're gonna come up in my home and take my house? Like, I mean, what is a strong man? Donald Trump is a strong man. Not a strong man, not somebody that you admire and want to be like, but like a bully. He's a guy. He came in, he didn't belong. It wasn't his house. He didn't care. He's gonna buy it. He's gonna develop it. If you don't like it, he's gonna go through the government. They're gonna change the rules. If they won't do it, then he'll buy you out. He'll buy every house around you out until he has your house, and then he's going to take your house. And that's what he did. Like that's what he straight did. He's a strong man. He's a businessman, and it worked, and he's the chaos candidate. And we, as the GOP, or I mean, I don't know, I'm not really the GOP, right? But we we just abandoned the house, and now he owns it and he runs it, and it's his house. And that's why I think this idea of Reagan caucus is like it's a group of people coming back and going like, that's our house. Like they were a small group of people that never left. They were just really quiet because, you know, everybody else is really loud. And now they're like, all right, we're going to try to get together and we're going to be loud. And there was a lot of people that were loud about Nikki Haley. And they were, and what that tells, that's what that should tell us is that there is enough people out there to break the electorate to send the presidency to Congress. And all it takes is some creative politicians that build a strong coalition, a bipartisan coalition. Instead of talking about immigration, talk about apportionment. Okay. Instead of talking about giving you power and asking us for your vote and asking us for your donation and asking us to volunteer for you, how about you talk about giving us power? How about you talk about expanding the House of Representatives? How about you give some of that back to us? And in reality, it's responsibility, okay? And you have too much of it, all right? And there's plenty of people out here that can help. They can help, but you don't want them to help. And look, I'm not the type of guy that likes to tell you that you're doing everything wrong, right? Like if you're in Congress, like I understand your job is hard, but historically speaking, you're doing a pretty poor job. Okay. We had Shays Rebellion on your watch, and it's been 4 years, and you gave us the same two people that gave us our modern day Shays Rebellion. You didn't call a convention. You didn't fix the rules. And here we are again 4 years later. And regular American citizens are worried we're going to have Shays Rebellion too. Joe Biden already said that he doesn't believe Donald Trump's going to accept the nomination, accept his win no matter what. Like he's literally doing, like, that's the type of stuff that autocrats say. That's the type of stuff that Donald Trump says. And Joe Biden's already saying it because let's face it, he's kind of right because Joe Biden or Donald Trump still hasn't accepted the 2020 election. And look, if you can't decide who your leader is, you're not really a representative democracy. You're not really a republic. You are some sort of weird oligarchy that is busted. And that's not good for us. That's not good for regular citizens. And here I am ranting again. How do we fix it? I mean, I think a system of elections that is not focused on money, right? I mean, look, we got a podcast right here. Um, why, like, and this can go into the whole winning a third party thing. Why do we not have, like, at a congressional level, why are the candidates not debating like daily? every night before they could get on a Zoom call like this, they could meet. They live in the same district, right? They could meet at one location once a week and record a debate on a podcast. It could be video recorded, uploaded to YouTube, and every single citizen in that district has the opportunity to go listen to real debates of the people that are running for office. But we don't do that. The parties put on these conventions and elections, and the like where I am at, there's like five primary elections. Like five, it's not really five, but there's so many dates to vote. Like we just had Super Tuesday. The congressional election is until later. There's RNC voting at a different time. You've got to know all this different stuff. And like if you're a regular citizen, it's hard to know. There's no like central point of communication. You know, you can go to the party's website, but this information changes regularly. Like these things are voted on, pretty quickly and then decided. If you're not there, if you're not paying attention, if you're not reading all of the emails, if you're basically like living a regular life, it's hard for you to know what's going on. And so like why does this matter? Well, it matters because it encourages the wrong people to win office because it gives power to a small group of people, and you basically have to be able to advertise to those people. You have to be able to bring out the vote. And it seems kind of silly because you don't you don't you don't see debate. There's no transparency in government anymore. Like the transparency is the representative is supposed to talk to you. They're supposed to meet with you. They're supposed to do town halls. They're supposed to debate their competition. I mean, look back to the Civil War, the Lincoln Douglas debate. When there's an issue, the people want to talk about it. And we don't get to talk about it. And they don't really talk about it. They have their talking points, they say what they say, they do their advertising, they ask you for money and volunteering and your vote, but they don't really care what you have to say. And they're not interested in you in informing you of what's going on. Um, and here I am complaining about it. I'm supposed to be talking about fixing it. Anyways, fixing it. We do a we do a better election system. Okay. Let's put Nikki Haley, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump at a kitchen table in a newsroom somewhere with no questions or nothing. Let's just sit them at a table and let's just let them talk. And then let's decide who's president off of that. Like let's let's see how they are on their feet. Because here's the thing, like when you study the presidents and you figure like, well, like what does an American citizen think a president does? I mean, they basically manage a large corporation, to be fair, but a large portion of their role is foreign affairs, right? And you've got to have somebody who can managing a business is managing relationships. Managing relationships is managing a conversation. You need to be disciplined, thoughtful, and be able to listen. And what is the best way to find out if your candidate can do that? If who's the best person to run to be president? Well, let's put them in a room and let's let them talk. Let's let them talk about what they want to talk about with no scripts. They can take notes. Like by all means, bring out the congressional record, like, but I don't mean like note cards with like pithy jokes. No, like I mean like actual freaking notes that they actually studied and understand what they're talking about. Let's see their qualifications, right? Every other job in the world, you have to give an interview. But for president of the United States, or at least for Republican nominee of the United States, you can go, nah, brah, I'm not showing up for the interview, but you're going to hire me. I'm telling you, you're gonna hire me. You're gonna like it. I promise. And guess what? We did. We hired him. We didn't have a choice. He told us we were gonna hire him. He wasn't coming to the job interview. He got the job anyways. And so we fix the elections by just holding them accountable, going, this is silly. This is silly. They are telling us they don't want to show up to the interview. And we're giving them the job anyways. Whether you like Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump, you should at least recognize that he doesn't want to do the job. Like he doesn't want to be president. He doesn't want to sit down in a room and have difficult conversations. I'll sit down in a room and have a conversation with Donald Trump. I will look. The thing that scares the heck out of me is that I feel like I could do a better job than him. Like And I know I am not qualified to be president of the United States. I've read those books and I know that job is the hardest job in the world, which scares the F out of me when I shouldn't have said that. I got to be better with the swearing. My daughter would be yelling at me right now. Um, but it scares me. Like it takes me back and it's just like I think about Kennedy dealing with Khrushchev. I think about, you know, FDR dealing with FDR and Churchill dealing with um, Nazi Germany. Like these are serious situations. Lincoln in the South, right? Like Washington, Adams in the French, Madison in the British, like not that they all made perfect decisions, but man, I don't know if Joe Biden or Donald Trump can carry a conversation because we never get to see it. Like we only get to see him in front of a teleprompter with note cards with a prepared statement. And I know Donald Trump goes off and he does his rants and whatnot, but like there's no accountability there. Like there's no accountability there. Like every American parent, whether you like Donald Trump or Joe Biden, you should be able to look at it and be honest with yourself and go, there is literally no accountability. I live in Virginia. Virginia is a blue state, so my vote doesn't count. You live in California. California is a blue state. Your state doesn't count. You live in Texas. You're a red state. Your vote doesn't count. You live in Florida. You have a shot. You live in Ohio, you have a shot. We need you. We're going to be there. We're going to talk to you. We're going to tell you what you want to hear. Why? 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 I did it again. Ranton, Raven. Um, yeah, long pause. Take a sip of coffee. Talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis again. Anyways, I think I think it's possible. Like I think all of the negative, all the bad things, like there's so much opportunity here. I look at the United States and I look at a business with a really strong foundation that has built some stuff on top of it that needs to be pruned away. A better idea, a bush. It's a very pretty bush that's overgrown. It's overgrown with rules that are unneeded because we're writing the wrong ones. And we have we have this communication system that we allow others to take advantage of, but we don't take advantage of. We don't use it the right way. Like there's the whole TikTok thing, where the Congress is basically saying TikTok ByteDance has to divest its interests from the CCP, or we're going to ban it in the United States. And some people are going, this is freedom of speech. This is that. And at the end of the day, like historically speaking, communication is key, man. Representation is communication. Think about it. Like your job as a representative is to speak with and listen to your constituents. Your job as a voter is to speak with your representative and tell them what's going on so they can better represent you. And how we do this nowadays, in a lot of ways, is through social media ads and social media videos. And so they're able to capture this data of what we like and what we want, and then they're able to use it for what they want. I mean, we don't really know, right? I mean, but I think there's, the again, the point is there is a government that understands the value of social media and communication. And then we have ours who it's not like you have to partner with a social media like, you know, create a data gathering thing. It's not about gathering information, it's about giving information. Like the biggest problem that we have as the American public is we are seriously misinformed by the people that lead us, whether they be in the media or in government. And it's because they don't talk about the right things because they're never forced to actually talk about the things. And again, let's put Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Nikki Haley at a kitchen table with some cameras, 2 hours once a week, and let's let the American people decide who they want to be president. No notes, no scripts, no nothing, right? And in each congressional district where everybody is running, let's do the same thing and let's broadcast it all to YouTube, okay? And let's let the American people decide who they want to vote for and who they don't want to vote for. And let's stop with the ads and let's stop with the text messages and let's stop with the fundraising emails. And let's actually get down to business. And instead of fighting over building a wall and who should be thrown in prison and who shouldn't be thrown in prison, let's talk about apportionment. Okay. Let's talk about like writing some actual rules and fixing some actual problems. All right. I think I'm done. I think my rant is over. I don't know. It's weird doing it alone. I like having another person to talk to, kind of keep me in check. Doing the podcast alone is scary. Do you ever notice that? Like doing anything alone is scary. And, people don't really like change. Change is necessary, but they don't like it. I think it's part of our problem now. That's why we got what we got. The the authority says, look, you don't really want change. You just had a lot of change. You had the chaos candidate. You need the compromise candidate now. Like they're telling us what they need. And we're just like, can we get a third option, please? That would be cool if the Reagan caucus could do something about getting us a third option, if it could grow large enough to actually like do something substantial. But I think the thing that's missing here is like you have to have a group. If you're going to build a group like that, you actually have to like you have to start to talk about the real problems. Like you cannot just be against something. You cannot just be like we're against Donald Trump. And I don't think that's what the Reagan caucus is at all. Not, I mean, they're just started, right? But that's what a lot of these, other things have become, like the Lincoln Project is the prime example of that. There are other ones, but I won't talk about those. We'll just talk about the Lincoln Project. So, because it's so blatantly obvious. And it's where it's like, look, we're a group of conservatives. We felt left out. We're going to build something else. We're going to take this man down. And then it's just like, well, now you're kind of just a Democrat. And the thing is like Democrat or Republican, you're all rhinos. You're representation in name only. You're not interested with talking to people. You're not interested in listening to people. And so if you are interested in talking to people and you are interested in listening to people, then you'll give them some solutions. You'll talk out the problems. You'll find a different way to communicate with them. And that's the key right there, right? Like find a different way to talk to them. Stop talking inside the same bubbles. Stop talking to the same people. Get outside of your box and talk to other people and give them something. Like if you're a whole bunch of conservatives who don't like Donald Trump, then you need to throw the people who do like Donald Trump a bone and just acknowledge the fact that he exists for a reason. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party existed for a really long time before Donald Trump showed up and crashed the show. And the reason that Donald Trump was successful at crashing the show is because they weren't doing a good enough job. And we can think that Donald Trump is bad or good or whatever we want to think about it. Those are the facts. The facts are he's the chaos candidate. He was successful as the chaos candidate because people wanted chaos because they were sick and tired of the status quo. And he was the wake up call. He ignited Shay's rebellion. He said that we're not represented as people. And it's funny because like he's the most represented man in America. Like he gets whatever he wants, like and 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 I think it's funny that he represents the unrepresented to a large degree because he doesn't give them the right information. Instead of saying build the wall, he should have been saying Congress write an apportionment act. But I don't think Donald Trump knows what apportionment is. And that's a problem. Like, that's one of the things that scares me. It's like, look, we got all this, the world is kind of burning around us, like it's not the end of the world. We've had bad situations before, but I want somebody that like knows his history. Like I want him to know that story, the person that's in charge. I want him to know about apportionment. And I mean, Joe Biden's getting up there, and then Donald Trump is just like, it's blatantly obvious he does not know enough things to about history. That's the thing, like the common thread between all of the presidents that you read is they were always like deep studies of history. Harry Truman, Ronald Reagan, James Madison, John Adams. Like they loved history, man. They all did. Andrew Jackson. Like they knew what to do because they knew what happened in the past. It gave them better advantages over others. And yeah. He instead of building the wall, he should have been talking about apportionment. Um, but I guess that's just me. I'm the people. I want power. And like, I mean, he wants power, you want power, they all want power. Power is how we get things done. It's like, eh, all right. I said I was done, and then I ranted some more, but I think I'm done for real now. So, am I done for real now? Oh, all right. I am going to be done for real, but just real quick. I don't know if how much I'll do these solo podcasts, but if you like it, if you got something out of it, let me know. Drop me a line. Um, I was I've been personally here been struggling, like to figure out like what am I supposed to do? I kind of doing this no cap fund. I write articles here and there. Um, I don't think that people are talking about the right thing, and I feel like it would really help people if we actually focus on the right thing. So I feel obligated to be louder and to get these things talked about and to I don't know, it's a responsibility for me. But it's a frustrating one because what I learned is like you've got to make it your job if you want to have a say. If you want representation, you need to get paid to talk to representation. And that's a pretty difficult thing to do for somebody like me from outside. And it's not to say like the odds are stacked against you. It's a lot of the odds stacked against you is like you as an individual don't know what to do and you don't know who to ask or the right people in your circle to do things. And there's lots of other things that take place, right? And so like I feel discouraged at times. And I was at church last week. I've got this really good idea for something, for like a business or whatnot. And I have done a business in the past, and I'm not really like I don't really want to work. I don't really want to start a business. But like I said, you got to have a job. I got to pay my mortgage. My wife's like, you got to do something. These articles don't pay anything. And so I got this idea, and I've been struggling at trying to figure out like, I don't want to do it alone. And I don't really know anybody to like, I don't have the capital to just like have a bunch of money, start paying myself a salary, start doing it, and then paying, other people to handle the things I don't want to do. I don't have the capital to do that. So like the next step is like to find a business partner, somebody that can help do those things for me so I can focus on the thing that I do good, which, write, talk, politics, stuff like that. Um, but I don't know who that person is. I don't know where they are, and I don't, you know, and so I was at church, and we're in the book of Acts, and they're telling the story of Peter, and he's in prison, and there's an angel comes and frees him. And the first time I read this, and then my pastor talked about it, I kind of envisioned a floating, glowing angel, you know. And the more I read it, and I'm very discouraged at the moment, or at this point when I'm listening and reading. And the more I read it over and over again, this floating angel kind of turned into a person, and I realized that God just sent a person. The angel was a person. It was just a regular person who really believed in Jesus and really believed in what Peter was doing and didn't think that he should be imprisoned. And he freed his shackles and he opened the door and he let him out. And it was like, man, that's what I need. I need an angel. Like I need an angel to like come and just like really believe in me. Like believe that we should be talking about apportionment. Like we should be talking about fixing the republic and giving people power back. Like these are things that make sense. And it is kind of silly that, an individual can, try to run for Congress and get in the room with people who are supposed to be representatives of power and get nowhere. Like, this is something that makes sense. And, you know, I need him to send me an angel and say, like, "I really believe in you. I really believe in you. I'm gonna help you carry the weight. I'm gonna help you get out of here. Get out of your prison, if you will. You're stuck in this spot and you don't know where to go and you feel lost. And it's like, I'm gonna send you somebody." And then I thought, if he does send me an angel, it's gonna look like a person. How am I gonna know that they're an angel and not the devil? How am I gonna know to trust that person? Because I think that is, like, for me, that might be the thing that I do to myself the most, is I am so afraid, not afraid, maybe I'm afraid. What if I make the wrong decision? What if I partner with the wrong person? What if what if what if? How am I gonna know that he's an angel? How did Peter know? How did Peter know the devil wasn't setting him up? This was his execution. He came in there to trick him. It feels wrong to be breaking out of prison. Like, if I'm in Peter's situation and somebody walks into my cell and starts to take off the chains, like, part of me is like, I don't know. I feel like if I run, there might be harsher consequences than staying. I think I can negotiate my way out of here. Like, obviously Peter wasn't going to negotiate his way out of here, but maybe I can, like, or maybe I'm just scared. Maybe I don't want to run. Maybe I'm afraid of being tricked. I don't know. I don't know. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice to know, wouldn't it? That's like the thing. Everybody wants to know. We all want to know. They have information. We have information. They want our information. They won't give us their information. And we are left not knowing. We're left with two choices: compromise candidate, the chaos candidate. And we are told to talk about immigration and we are told to ignore apportionment. But, anyways, that's it for my show. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it is. It's just Jeff talking into a microphone. Peace and love.